Here we go. All right. Thanks everybody for clicking on here and coming on when you can. I a little couple minutes late here and I got a little behind and I did shave. So I'll probably get some comments. I shaved before church this Sunday to shock everybody. I told them I was going to dress up as a beardless person to scare everybody. So everybody came up to me like at church. I was like a new visitor. So I like to shave. I like it. Feels good. Feels good to start over for the fall. Appreciate everybody that's on there. We already got people on here watching. Got an awesome guest coming on today. I'm gonna do a real quick recap of my week and what's going on, so what you can expect. I got a kayaking video going to be coming out where I went down a creek and caught some bluegill and bass. Saw some giant bass. I could not get them to bite. It was a little aggravating. Also, basketball is my second week of coaching basketball, so I'm at full swing really with that. And I think a lot of I'm probably going to go down to like 2 videos a week for the people that are that watch my regular channel. So little things changing coming up. I hope everybody had a good Halloween. I ate a lot of candy and watched I watched a new show. Oh, I might talk about that show here in a minute. But anyways, let's quit messing around here. Let's get to the guest of the show. There he is. Georgia Bassmaster's on here, and we're going to be talking some Georgia bass. How you doing, man? Can you hear me? Am I coming through in the comments? Let's see. Marshall's having trouble hearing. I appreciate everybody commenting. If you got questions, get them in. We'll get this figured out here in just a second. Let's see. Can you hear anything now? Yeah. This is the real world YouTube. You heard me just a second ago. Can you hear me now? I guess I can't hear him. I can't hear you. All right. Hold on a second here. No, it ain't that. So we got people hearing. I don't know what's going on with his. Let me remove him and add him again. I removed you and added you. Where's the settings at? Hold on. No, I don't have his settings, I don't think. Let's see here. Nope. Huh. I heard you a second ago just fine. He froze. I think he logged out. You may have. No, I don't hear you. Yeah, the Verizon commercials right now. I might have to log out and come back on here. All right. Let's see here. Click out of it and click back in it. Everybody that's staying around, paying attention, I appreciate you holding on. Click out, then click back in. Because I really want to talk some Georgia bass. So Josh, I still getting ready for tomorrow. Me and Bass and Beer are gonna be go kayak in the morning. Just a little just a little sneak. And I got my kayak loaded, but I don't have like any lures tied on. I don't even know what lures I'm taking yet. But I'm trying to get Marshall on here, and he has really gotten into river and creek fishing a lot. And I really want to talk about the Georgia Bass Slam. So if you know anything about the Georgia Bass Slam, he knows a lot about it. All right, let's see. He's back.
I hear you this time. Yeah, we're good.
I think I clicked out and then back in, and I think it messed threw yours off. I don't.
It's like as soon as you clicked me back in, it was just dead. So.
Well, I've been stalling, and there's people. We got comments. We got people watching. I appreciate everybody there. Anyways, Marshall, tell us. Go ahead, tell us a little bit about yourself. If somebody has never seen you before, who you are, what you do.
I'm a local resident of the great state of Georgia. Do a lot of creek, river fishing, pond fishing. I started out as a tournament fishing angler years ago, mainly fishing like electric lakes and just John boat fishing tournaments. and really got addicted the small creeks and rivers and all these subspecies of bass that we have here in Georgia. It wasn't until probably about 5 years ago there were other species of bass just besides largemouth and smallmouth and spotted bass. So I really started getting into that, and I really enjoy learning about the species and where they and where they live and what streams they're in and what streams they're not in. And so lately, my content this past year and a half has been really more along those lines, pretty similar to your channel.
Yeah,
But I
that's
still
probably
like,
why I started following you a lot more recently.
yeah,
It's
I
like,
still like to go out to the lake and
yeah,
catch some big largemouth every now and then. But I do enjoy the river and creek fishing.
man, you're over 25,000 subscribers. I was looking at that in 392 videos. So you've been putting out some content. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
And I know you've been growing and stuff. It's always fun to just keep growing and stuff. No matter what size you are,
right.
just keeps you doing. What all do you do? Do you do other stuff? Do you work? I think
Oh yeah, I
did
have a
you?
full time job. I
Yeah,
work for the natural gas
I, that's right.
pipeline. So luckily, my work's pretty flexible. I go like 4 o'clock in the morning, and then I'm usually done working by like 1 or 2 in the evening. So I
Wow,
usually have every evening free to like fish. So
that's
that's
crazy.
pretty good.
Yeah, that helps out. That's a thing for people that do YouTube, especially as a hobby or something. It's like it has to work out. It has to, it's a lot to do, especially if you're trying to fish because you're trying to make it all happen when you have time off. Um,
Right. It's
so,
it's been a little especially rough for me lately. My wife's in nursing school, and
uh,
clinicals and like the days she has to work and go to school. There's been a lot of times where I just haven't been able to go fishing the past few weeks. So I've been grinding them out when I can.
yeah, I just started coaching basketball at my church. My church you go to has a private school, and so it started last week. So I got to be there usually 4 o'clock, which
Yeah.
gives me time during the day. But it's like if I go out, I got to know I got to get back. So I always have that
Yeah.
over my head. So it's a little bit of a hindrance, but it's like it also like I've been doing this for 3 years now, so it's a little bit of a breaks up the monotony, especially in winter. Winter fishing can be weird, but it just keeps me from traveling. Though I can't really travel. Like if I just want to go somewhere, I'm like, man, well, I can't.
Right.
But and I don't like getting up early, so that's what's bad. I'm not an early person, so I got to make myself get out, go, try to film a video, get back for practice and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
as you've gotten into like as you've doing more and more on YouTube, has that changed how you fish any, or like maybe what you do, or is changing into more creek and river stuff just something you found more interesting?
It seems like everybody prefers seeing big bass videos. I mean, obviously, but the kayak fishing is really a big niche, if that's how you say it. There's a lot of people that really enjoy the kayak world, and I've been kind of dipping into that, and it's pretty popular. And whether or not any type of species I'm catching, they seem to be enjoying the kayak videos. So the audience, I haven't really heard any complaints out of the direction I'm going, but it is definitely what I enjoy doing. So I try not to go with what everybody likes. Otherwise, it wouldn't be enjoyable.
I know. I kind of transitioned last couple of years from only wading and bank fishing to like I've really gotten into kayak fishing a ton, and I have a few people that they don't like the kayak stuff as much, but it's like I'm gonna do what I want. I got to do what I like to do. That's what you have to do that to keep it fun. I have
Yeah.
to keep it fun. I have to keep it interesting. I don't want to get. I don't want to go out there and do something that's just like well, this is what everybody wants to see, so I'll go out and do it. And
Uh,
and the people know when you're having fun and that makes the video more exciting.
It's just a lot more relatable. I mean, a lot of people have 500 to like $2,000 to drop on a kayak, and most people don't have $60,000 to put in a bass boat. And it's fun being in a bass boat, but your audience is a lot more relatable when you're creek fishing, wade fishing, or kayak fishing. So
I've noticed that like it's for me, I love the scenery. Like you know how it is when you're wading, or even if you're kayaking, you are right there with it. You're
yeah,
in it. Even if you're in a kayak, you're sitting right there with it. You're just quiet, just coasting through or something like that. So I really enjoy that part of it where it's just like I feel like I'm right there, like deer hunting or something. Like you're sitting there in the trees in with the animals, and you come up on it, and I see I've never bass fished out of a boat, but a few times. But when I but kayaking, I always just looking to see. You see stuff, you come up on stuff.
Yeah.
It's definitely fun there.
Yeah, a lot of the times you're seeing something that just very few people have seen, especially some of these hard to get places.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I know I don't know. I've always said, or I've been saying, there's like a little saying, which I just kind of it's common sense, but like I tell people, like if you go through and kayak a section, especially if you like say you're tomorrow we're going 8 miles down the river, and you could get a jet boat up there if you really wanted, but it basically nobody's going through it. As if you do
Right.
that, you're fishing the most unpressured fish that you could ever come across, or the least pressured fish you're ever going to come across if you by kayaking a stretch of river, because you're going to hit
Right.
a couple holes that they may be fish that grew up in there or moved up in there, or maybe have never been caught.
Right.
Um, I love that, and they're just usually. I mean, they slow down, but when they're there to eat, and you like know where they're going to be and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The way they hit, but
Yeah. I
and
feel like river fishing is a lot more predictable
yeah,
on where these fish are going to be. So like it's a guarantee every time you go, pretty much, from
yeah.
my experience.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially like places like I know I'm catching fish through here. I don't know whether that's lazier or I just think it's more exciting. But
Yeah.
also, like, I don't know. Sometimes I mean, but the river changes. It's like yes, you know where they're going to be, but every time you go through there, the deep holes are changed, the trees have fallen or changed. Like it's always that's I know people say that the rivers and streams they always change. So every time you go through it, it's like going. Sometimes it's like going through a whole new place again.
Right.
Each bend could be washed out differently. I had a couple of creeks that I fished last couple of years. They were really good smallmouth creeks. I went there this year. I was I'm gonna go here and hit a couple of holes. The holes that were like 8 foot deep there was nothing. There was not a hole. The whole thing had filled in with sand. I'm like, where? I'm like, I knew there was gonna be a fish there. Then all of a sudden, I'm like, where'd it go? So I had to go find them somewhere else. But that's really fun. Let's get into we'll get into all the black bass species, and let me mention this again. Anybody watching, if you got any comments or questions, we'll try to answer them as we go. I know I missed some people, and we got people already talking about the Georgia Tennessee game. Are you a Georgia fan?
I'm not a big football fan, but I am more on the Georgia side just because I live in Georgia. So
Have you lived in Georgia all your life?
yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Always.
I'm a Kentucky fan, and we played Tennessee last week and got killed. But I'm not a big football guy. I'm definitely more of a basketball guy. So I'm always like, wait till basketball season.
Yeah, it's going to be a good game no matter what. I don't think
I kind of excited, yeah.
I don't think one side's going to completely demolish the other, no matter what anybody says. So
It's gonna be interesting. I'm like, I don't watch football that much, but I live here in right in East Tennessee, and we got so many Tennessee fans, so I kind of follow it a little bit more just because everybody I know is talking about it and stuff like that.
I was in Tennessee in Pigeon Forge a few weeks ago when Tennessee played Alabama and won, and everybody there was freaking out.
Yeah, that was
crazy.
crazy. Yeah, they weren't expecting that. That's the thing. Like even the Tennessee people didn't expect to win.
No.
Now they're like, "Oh, we're unstoppable."
I just heard the whole town where we were just started screaming. I'm like, "What's going on?" Somebody's like, "Tennessee won." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
I was in a kayak tournament on Kentucky Lake. Got back to watch the fourth quarter of that game, and most of the guys I was with were Tennessee fans. So I was kind of glad I saw it. That was something that they're going to talk about for a long time. But do you do any kayak tournaments? Have you done that?
I did one this year, and I won first.
Oh,
so
boom!
I don't know.
You don't have to do no more.
Look, I might as well just quit while I'm at it. Like I don't want to break my record right now. So yeah, I did my first ever kayak tournament this year. I won first. I haven't done one since then. It was on like the Go Tourney X Pro app or whatever it was.
Was
That's
it like
what
an
it was on.
online one where
Yeah, it was the online Tourney X.
okay.
It was actually, we entered all our fish online,
Yeah.
but there was an actual event we went to afterwards, and
Oh,
like
okay.
they
Yeah.
gave away some stuff for the
Yeah.
winners and all.
That's how we do
Yeah.
ours.
It was pretty
Uh,
fun. I enjoyed it.
I've gotten into this group out of Knoxville. That it's about an hour and 15 minutes to most of my lakes. So, but it's all right. Some of them are like 2 hours away. Some of them aren't as far, but they rotate. So every month is at a different lake in a different place, and some
Okay.
of them are river floats. So those are really cool too. We'll do like a river float tournament. You could pick a few rivers, and that's definitely the most fun. But I just did a recap. I did a video. Anybody watching? I did a video of a recap of all my tournaments this year. I did 12 tournaments, and I won first in 2 of them. They were like, and I got 6th in one. That was a state one, and then I had some that I got like bottom of the barrel. So it's like it's cool to go through and see. You're like, oh yeah, I won that. Oh yeah, I got 40th in that one. It's like, but it's cool to go back and see and like, and this is my second year doing it, so it's definitely something I feel like I'm gonna do, like kind of keep it. And if you get in some of these league or like I forget what they're called, leagues or like little groups, you can qualify for state tournaments, then you can qualify for national tournaments through them, or you can do some of the like, there's the bass ones and there's the Hobie ones that you can do those.
Right.
Um, I want to do some bass ones. They're going to do one on Dale Hollow in December the 3rd. I'm gonna try to go up and do that. But yeah, so I got qualified to go to a national one, but it's here. It's in it's in Knoxville. It's a Bass Nation. The BASS. They do a kayak series thing. So I was like, wow, it's like I didn't even know you could do that, and I qualified for it, and I was like, wow. But it is growing a lot. Like I think next few years there's gonna be it's gonna be getting huge. Like they're already having like $10,000-$15,000 payouts in some of these kayak tournaments. So it's like, yeah, hey, you might go win the first in one of those, and
Yeah.
you won't have to work.
The
But
funny thing, I have it on video. It was like my video on my channel is called like I entered my first kayak fishing tournament or something like that. But it was the last 5 minutes of the tournament that I won it. And like I had pretty much given up. I was in third, and then I caught 2 fish back to back, spotted bass that were like 16 or 17
oh
inches
wow,
apiece,
yeah,
and then just ended up pulling the win out right out of nowhere. It was crazy.
that's that's how it is. That's how fun it is, or it can be so aggravating. Like and then I like going to the meetups and like hearing all the people that lost fish because it happens every time. Like everybody loses fish. You don't realize how many people lose fish till you go to these meetups and hear people talk about it. You're like, man.
Yeah.
And then it's like doesn't make you feel so bad because I have big fish all the time come off, and you're like, how did that happen? Like, it just happens.
Yeah.
But that's pretty funny.
The
All right, I was
big
going
ones
to ask you
always
something.
get away.
I forgot what it was. Oh, let me talk about spotted bass for a little bit. So, is this something you're really familiar with catching? Like, have you always caught spotted bass in most places you fish? Like, you're just really,
We're loaded down with them where I'm at. They're
yeah,
a nuisance.
yeah. Is that do you how much do you like? Do you like spots, or are they just like I'd rather catch something else?
My dad really likes to eat them, but
Yeah,
they are fun to catch. I mean,
yeah.
but sometimes they can take over some lakes in my area, so we do pretty good to remove a good amount of them.
Is it something where you're noticing like just big largemouth not being there, and just like you're just catching spots, or what?
Do you know? Have you ever heard of Lake Altoona,
Yeah,
close to where I live? We
yeah.
call that the Dead Sea, and we
Uh,
call it that because it's literally overrun with spotted bass. And you go to any tournament on any day of the week, they have a tournament every day of the week at that lake.
oh,
And you pull up, there'll be 40 boats in the tournament, and every boat is the 5 fish sack is all spots. Every
wow.
now and then you'll see somebody weigh a largemouth, and it's just like, oh, that guy caught a largemouth. Wow. So that
Wow,
lake is eat up
that's crazy.
with
Are
spotted bass.
are they stunted any, or do they get big? Are they catching
Oh,
like 17s and 20s, and or are they just all like 12 inchers?
oh, they're all like 17s. Every one of them you
Oh,
catch. They're good. They're good sized spots, but they just
yeah.
kill off all the largemouth.
Wow. See, I don't. Do you know about Parksville Lake here by me? It's in Tennessee, and it's the same thing, except it's in Tennessee where it's a lot further north. They're really worried about it, but and it does feed into Chickamauga, but that's what's happened. So people put Alabama spots in it not too long ago, 10 years ago or so, maybe 15
Yeah.
at the most. And but the thing about it is there's giant, like you can go catch big largemouth still, and then the spots get really big. Like our state record was caught out of 7 pounds, and people catch 5 and 6s. Like I've caught a I caught a 5 out of the river below it, 5 ounces. And like they're just growing like really big. So like obviously they're not supposed to be there, but man, they get big. And then there's still some really big largemouth in there. So it's kind of crazy. A lot of people like complain about it, but I mean, I kind of like going catching them because you can. I like to go catch fish.
I mean, they are fun to catch. I'll give them that. They fight hard.
It's hard to beat them in a creek when they're wild in a creek and you hook into them. There's a pretty good fight. Let's talk about the. I want you to talk about the black bass slam, and what that is in Georgia, and how you've mastered it down there.
Okay, there's the state of Georgia recognizes 10 black bass species. There's technically 12 if you separate the difference between just a northern strain largemouth and a Florida strain largemouth and a Kentucky strain spot and an Alabama strain spot. There's technically 12 species in Georgia, but the state recognizes 10. If you catch at least 5 out of the 10 species in the state of Georgia, you have to take pictures of them on a measuring board, take a picture holding the fish. You catch 5 out of the 10, they send you like a certificate. I have a couple of those on the wall back there. Your name goes on the website. They send you a bunch of stickers, a bunch of goodies and stuff, but it's just a good accomplishment. And it's a way for Georgia to make anglers more aware of these species, because a lot of people pick a species and then move it to a creek near them because they think it's fun to catch. But that's actually pretty harmful and damaging to take one species and put it where another one lives, because it's either going to hybridize or it's going to kill off the existing species. So it's more of like a thing to help anglers, gain a little bit of knowledge on these fish.
I think channels like yours and mine do wonders for people that are looking for something else to fish for. That maybe everybody knows about bass fishing or going to a lake and fish off the bank, or like, I wish I had a boat where I can get out there. Obviously people are getting into kayaking, but there's so many streams, especially around me and you, like where we live. We can go all over and find a stream to get in, either wade or kayak, and catch. There's just bass. There's there's largemouth, there's spots, and then there's places where you can go catch different ones, like you say, like the Coosa bass they got the Coosa bass in Tennessee, just barely, but mainly down in Georgia.
Yeah,
things like that, just to have something different to go for. That's like, wow, this is a cool looking fish.
Yeah.
And I hear that a lot. People, like, especially when people have no idea what it is. But I was able to. I got six black bass species. I think I have all the pictures in my phone. I got to. What I was going to ask you, what am I supposed to do next? Like, do you go on the website to turn them in, or
there's like an email, and it's like Melissa something at Georgia DNR, some email, but basically you can find it on the Black Bass Slam website. Okay. You send the pictures, and you need the picture of you holding the fish and preferably on the board.
Yeah.
You send it to the email. You have to put the county and the river system that you caught the fish in. So you can say, I caught it in Chattooga County in the Chattooga River. And basically you just have to list all the information and put your name, address, and everything. They send everything to you once they approve it.
That's I know Aaron's done that a couple times. Aaron's Outdoors. He always did that. I was like, that looks cool. So last year I caught 4 species, and I just never went and got like another one. I was like, man, I should have. So this year I got 6, or I got 6, and I'm like, all right, I got it. And I think I got pictures on the board and of me holding it. I just got to remember where I caught them, but I should have the location tagged in my pictures. So I need to go and send that in. And right. Do they send you? I saw your video where you talked about it, but do they send you a sticker of each black bass that you caught, or like
it's only each black bass you caught? Which last year I only got 7 stickers. So I was like, okay, I got to get all 10 stickers
Yeah.
next year. So I did this year.
What was your hardest one to go for? Like, or maybe it's just where you live, or maybe it's the least. Is there a least populated one that we know that you know of?
In my opinion, the 2 hardest bass there are, luckily one of them is 30 minutes down the road from where I live, and it's the Tallapoosa bass.
Yeah.
And it's just because the section of Tallapoosa River you can fish is very short because most of the Tallapoosa rivers are in Alabama. So that one is kind of a difficult one.
Yeah.
Those red eye species, they don't like the water murky at all. Like they are very visually, uh, they like to bite visually. They like
Yeah.
clear water. So if the water's just slightly stained, those can be pretty hard to catch. Luckily, I knocked that one out the first try just because I live pretty close to the stream. But the hardest one to me was the Altamaha bass. And mainly it's just because it was one of the further drives. It was about a 3.5 hour drive. Most of these fish I can get around the 2 hour mark. The Sewanee bass, that was about a 4 hour drive, but I knocked it out fast, so I'm not going to count that one as the hardest. But the Altamaha, I had to work for about 2 hours to really get that one. So I'm going to say that was my hardest one.
Me and Aaron did a float. Was it 2 years ago on the Tallapoosa? And was the water murky? Is that, or when you went, or is it really clear there? Because when we went, it looked murky, and I thought it was supposed to be really clear, so I wasn't sure.
It's usually, you have to wait till it hasn't rained for about 2 or 3 weeks, and it gets crystal clear. But if it just slightly just drizzles or something in the evening, you got there the next day, it's going to be muddy. Something about whatever's upstream, it'll muddy up real quick.
I caught several I caught several spots in there, but I remember I caught one. We only caught a few Tallapoosa bass though. We didn't catch a lot.
Yeah, they're hard.
Okay, so I didn't know if they're more spread out through there or not.
Now, I went last year, and when the river was crystal clear, and I caught about 18 of them on this float. And then the same exact float I went this year when it was slightly stained, and I caught 2.
Wow.
So that just
shut down, really.
That shows you the difference.
Yeah,
and just a little bit of water clarity.
That is crazy. I'm planning to kayak up here tomorrow, and I went and checked it out today, and the water is super clear. And there's a section. It's the Hiwassee River, but there's a bunch of the Hiwassee changes. It changes from like trout fishing. It kind of changes. And this area we're going through has got largemouth and spots. Hopefully, they should be there. But that water gets really cold, and they kind of move downstream. But
Right.
I'm hoping that I think it's going to be, if we catch them, we're going to see them come out and hit lures. But what's funny, so they stocked the Coosa bass, or I think everybody knows them now as Coosa. When I first started catching them, like 5 or 6 years ago now, I caught them, and I didn't know. I'm like, what are these things? So they stocked them in Tennessee, and a bunch of creeks in Tennessee that they're not native in. So that, they put them in there to, I don't know why, they did a lot of that in the 50s and 60s and stuff like that, where they stock fish. Yeah. So there's a couple creeks like 10 minutes, like 15, 20 minutes from me at the most, that are just loaded with Coosa bass. And it's these, they're clear, like you said, it's these clear, kind of rocky, super shallow creeks, and they love it. It's crazy how many there are in some of these streams.
Right.
And and all these creeks, they run like parallel, and they run and dump into the Hiwassee River. But like, it's so funny that you will never catch one out of the Hiwassee River. It's so funny how they live. I've always thought that was amazing how they love that shallow little water area. And it's like they don't either. I don't know if they don't venture out into the bigger rivers, or they get eaten, or they just they find somewhere else to hide. Because it's crazy, because there's a bunch of creeks. They all have a good amount of Coosa bass, but you'll never catch one in the river.
Huh.
But they thrive. They do really good. You'd think they'd like die out or something, but they thrive. People fish for them, catch them all the time, and they stay really healthy.
Yeah.
Seems like, anyways.
Yeah, if you ever look at the difference between like a largemouth and a spotted bass tail, largemouth, it looks like a big, like broom shaped. and then spot is like a V. But then things, they're built for speed, and they do exceptionally well in the river and creeks. And they'll just, what's crazy about them is I've had really fast streams, and they'll be going upstream, just pulling drag out. Like it's just crazy how strong and fast they are, and they'll take over a little creek or river system real fast.
Yeah. So we have the Alabama spots. They're in a lot of the places too, but we have one river in Tennessee, the Conestoga. It's the only river in Tennessee has native Alabama bass, and it has the Coosa bass. So,
Yeah.
But they do really good. There's some largemouth in there too, but it's like all Coosa bass and Alabama spots. It comes out of the mountain, and as you get, like you said about the clear water, as that river goes down and just gets into Georgia a few miles, the water starts getting murkier, and it's like a switch. Like you will not catch a Coosa bass down the red eye
Right.
Coosa bass. You won't catch them like once that water gets murky. Once you get down in there, they stay up in the mountains in the
Right.
mountain stream in that clear, cool water.
The Coosa bass is actually the strain they took over to California, and the ones that are getting 11 and 12 pounds.
Oh, are you talking about the Coosa spots?
Yeah, the
Like
Coosa
spotted
spotted
bass? Okay.
bass.
Yeah.
Those are the ones they took to California. They're getting like 11 and 12 pounds.
What do you call a Coosa bass? Is like the red eye bass, or do you just call it a red eye bass?
I'll just call it a Coosa red eye, or just
Coosa red eye. Okay,
just a
'cause
red eye.
I've been watching a lot of podcasts, and I'm starting to hear all kinds of terminology. So there's all these different things, and they're changing what they're calling things because they keep finding new stuff. So I'm
Right.
always trying to I want to be specific when I say words because around here if I say a red eye bass, it's obviously everybody's like rock bass. Like no, not a
Yeah.
rock bass. Yes, I know what rock bass are. These red eye bass are different. And then you're like, what's a red eye bass? Well, and actually in our brochure in Tennessee, it says red eye bass. That's what the definition of the red eye Coosa bass is. But like if you talk to people in Alabama, they're like, oh, red eye bass means all these bass. In Georgia and stuff like that. So it's like
Yeah.
I hate that there's I always try to use the terminology like that's exactly for that. But some of these
Right.
it's just confusing. But
Yeah.
because a
We'll
lot of
just
people are
start
calling
getting
Coosa bass, they'll say Coosa bass, and I'm not sure if they're talking about spotted bass or the red eye bass.
real scientific. Just instead of calling them spotted bass, we'll just go with the scientific name of Micropterus hinchali.
Uh,
Just go all on out.
I don't know. I can't pronounce those. Let's do that. But let's go ahead and talk about what is your favorite of the black bass species in Georgia.
That's a hard
I think I know what it is, but I don't
time.
know. It might
It's a hard time between a smallmouth and a shoal bass, but just since shoal bass are more prevalent, probably gonna have to go with the shoalie.
yeah. I want to come down there and do some river trips with you for shoal bass because I want to do a float trip. I've never done a float trip for shoal bass. I've gone and caught them a couple places, but I want to go and just catch some big ones and
I have
catch
a
those.
I have a new spot that I got from a buddy who caught almost a 5.
Hmm.
Me and my dad went, and my dad caught a 4.9. And
Wow.
then a guy who watched my video and figured out where we went just went out there last week, and they caught almost 4.5. So there's some big ones in the section I got. But I mean, down south, like below Macon, I don't know if you follow this guy named Flint Davis on Instagram, but he's catching 5 and 6 pound shoal bass like every trip.
I follow a couple people and I've heard some people talk and they say that it's like easy to catch 4 and 5, 6 pounders. And I'm like, I need to go fishing where you're fishing
South
at.
Georgia, yeah, in the Flint River, yeah. This guy has caught multiple high 7s and a couple of low 8s, and he's gotten really close to beating the state record.
Yeah,
quite a
what's the
few
record?
times.
Like 8 something?
It's
8
like
and a half?
8.5 or
Yeah.
8.6, and this guy's, I mean, just he's got some 8.2s and 8.3s.
Goodness. I can't imagine an 8 pounder out of like that kind of current and stuff. Like
No.
What I was like totally surprised when I did. Oh, actually, I did fish. I fished with Aaron. We floated a couple times on a couple smaller rivers and caught some shoal bass. I never caught any big ones. I still haven't caught one over 2 pounds, probably maybe pound and a half, pound 3/4, probably the biggest one I've caught. But there's like this shoal that's just dropping, like hard drop, shallow water, and I'm casting across it. He's like, fish across it, and I'm like, I'm casting like a little swim bait. The water's murky. I catch like 3 fish out of it. I'm like, how in the world did they see that and hit that? It's amazing how they can live in those spots and like even hit a lure that's coming through. Like,
Yeah.
and they're just ready. Like, bam, they're on. Like, I don't know. That was one thing I was surprised. So I'm not used to that.
Yeah, they're super aggressive.
Do you striper fish any out of those rivers or?
I will, like, when somebody says, "Hey, the stripes are running over here, come get on them," I'll go do some striper fishing. But I don't really seek them out like I should. I had a trip planned about 3 or 4 weeks ago with a guy. Like, I had already went and got everything ready, had my kayak loaded on the back of my truck, and then it come a flash flood overnight.
Yeah,
and we had to cancel that trip. So
that's like that's what I live for now, is trying to set up kayaking trips.
yeah,
If I could get somebody else to go with me, I'm like, anytime somebody else is like, "Hey, I want to go fishing. You got a truck? Okay, we're going. We're floating somewhere."
yeah,
I just that's definitely the best. But yeah, you can. I did it the other day. I had a guy. We were gonna go somewhere. I checked it. I went and checked it Sunday night. I told him Monday morning we're kayaking. I checked it Sunday night. Didn't rain. Nothing. I go over there. That thing's like 4 foot high in chocolate milk. I'm like, where did this water even come from?
yeah,
So luckily we have a bunch of dams that regulate water. So those are handy for a good backup spot. I love a natural flowing streams a lot better because I think it's more predictable for the fish and everything, and like they're always eating and stuff. But the
yeah.
dam control one, sometimes the fish can be off and on, but it's nice when everything's flooded and you can go, like, I can still find some clear water.
You talking about like the hydroelectric dam?
Yes.
Those are
Like
annoying.
like TVA dams.
We Georgia Power basically owns every single one of them in our state,
Okay.
and they say all over their, like, you can check the generation times, and they'll say, "Hey, we're subject to generate at any time."
Yeah.
And then you'll be out there, and they're not supposed to be generating, and here chocolate milk, the river's rising, they're generating. It's so annoying.
Huh. Ours are pretty accurate. I think mainly because a lot of ours are we have guide services for kayaking and tubing, and they got to know what's going on to be able to make a money, and they got a thing going on. So ours around here, I'd say, are pretty accurate. I can pretty much every time look at it. Now, sometimes they're just spilling extra water and they're not generating, and that's different, But even when the water comes up, it stays pretty clear for us. It may get up and go a little faster, but it is aggravating. It is kind of aggravating sometimes because I like to fish it when the water's low and calm.
Yeah,
And you can just like cruise through there.
the lower the better. I love it low.
We got guys there up here though, and I know people that they won't fish it unless it's like high speed.
Really?
Like I don't have no fun doing that. I mean, they do catch some good fish sometimes doing that, but I'd rather cruise up on these little deep holes, fish them, watch those fish come out.
Well, like we were talking about, when the river's really low and they're pretty much forced to go into certain areas, they're just more predictable.
Yeah. I think that I have seen though, but like when the water is up, they can be predictable on the bank. They get pushed to the bank. So
Oh yeah, right on the edge, yeah, for sure.
That's how I caught 2 muskie up here. It was flooded and they were on the bank, and I caught 2 in one day. It was kind of crazy because I guess because they were just trying to get out of the current. And I tried to fish for them for a bunch of times, couldn't catch them. But all right, let me ask you another question. I got a few more questions written here. Anything you want to bring up? Feel free to bring up. Anybody?
No.
I haven't seen many questions. Let's see.
There's been a couple. We can probably
go ahead. If you've seen one, I probably missed it.
I mean, we had Matt's Fishing Mission said he wants to know or wants to get a shoalie on his bucket list.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, they're basically only native to Georgia, Alabama, and Florida. It's basically like the Chattahoochee River, the Flint River and the Ocmulgee River. So you pretty much fish on any of those rivers, you're probably going to get one if you come down here or if you live in the state.
Appreciate
But,
Brian Cotton. Two of the best channels.
Ask some questions. We'll try to answer them while we're here.
Yeah, we are. Let me just recap real quick. Got the Georgia Bassmaster. Man, it's already 9:15. It's already gone pretty good. So we were here for a limited time. Appreciate Marshall coming on here, taking the time to do this. If you do not know, if you haven't checked out his channel, you need to go check it out and see what he's doing over there. It explains things very well. I like when you explain stuff. Like, I want to watch people catch fish, but also I want to know how you're doing it. You talk about things, you explain what happens. I really like that. I really appreciate that. So I can I want to know. I mean, I want to get better at fishing. I want to know how things go. Talk about. Speaking of this, just go over your kayak setup and stuff like that. Maybe something on it, maybe what you use or anything about that.
Right. So I have a Bonafide P127 pedal drive. It is a 12.5-foot kayak. I got the pedal drive system. A lot of the times in the rivers, I don't use the pedal drive just because I don't want to be banging rocks. But it's a pretty good little setup. I definitely recommend having something at least 32 to 34 inches wide if you guys are going to be kayaking. It makes a world of difference. I prefer to stand up on my kayak.
You stand up a lot.
Your channel, you sit down.
Yeah, I sit down a lot.
I cannot set the hook sitting down. I got to be standing up. So the first thing I do, I paddle to my spot and then I stand up on my kayak. So I very rarely fish sitting. But these have a good platform on it, and it's made for standing. And this is definitely a game changer. Before this, I had a Lifetime Walmart kayak, and you wasn't going to stand up on that. So, but it's a pretty good setup. I basically just bring the tackle that I need and keep it as light a weight as possible myself.
That's good advice. And another thing about the kayaks, I try to explain. I get a lot of people ask about kayaks, and I try to explain. And I got mine are Old Towns, and Old Town sent me those, so that was awesome. But before that, I've had a couple cheap ones that I bought, and man, it is night and day. Just being comfortable. You want to be comfortable as possible. And if you are on a kayak and you're like, I don't like it, it's too shifty, get a good kayak because you will enjoy it so much more. And
the people like you said, who don't like kayaks are just on a bad one.
Yeah, exactly. I would rather go out in my kayak and than go out on a boat with somebody else most of the time, because you're by yourself. You can go where you want. You can take your time. You can fish a point or some brush or whatever you want to fish. You can fish as slow as you want, as fast as you want. You can use it in a lake. You can float down a river. Especially having one I have mine's pedal drive, but I can take that pedal drive out and I got a blank off plate. So the versatility of one kayak that can do multiple things, and my big one weighs 80 something pounds, I think, something like that. Which it's a lot for most people, but it's not a terrible amount for a kayak.
Right.
I can still pick it up, but slide it in the back of my truck. I'm not it's not too hard for that. But yeah, I love talking to people about kayak stuff because it's like you don't know until you know, and it's hard to explain something until they've actually experienced it. So I like trying to get people out on my kayak that hasn't been in a good kayak. Look, go out on this thing, just go check it out.
My dad, he's 65. He's never been on a kayak in his life, and I have my 12-foot Bonafide and I have a 10-foot, and I took him kayak fishing for the first time this year for shoal bass, and he absolutely fell in love with it. And he's just a natural, a pro, and he's always asking hey, when are we going kayak fishing again? So
he wears them out every time.
And he wears them out, and it's you'd think the guy's been kayak fishing his whole life, but it's his first year ever doing it.
Wow, that's
pretty addicting.
I was curious about that. So your dad's in the military. Did you ever think about going to the military, or did you?
He was in the Marines, and he was a diehard jarhead.
Yeah.
But I personally didn't want to go myself. Wasn't the route I wanted to take.
When I was 14 or 15, we moved to Clarksville, which is a military town, And man, it's crazy, like, living there, like, everybody's in the military. So, I'm like I never really thought about it in my life till I moved there, then I'm like, "Hey, you wanna military? You wanna join the military? You wanna join the"
Yeah.
So, I'm like, "Wow, everybody's" and then, like, a bunch of my friends are doing it. I really thought about it, and then I was like, "Nah, I ain't doing this. I can't do this." But it was just funny. I just, like it's just curious. I know a lot of people don't even think about it, but when people are around people like that, it puts a different you think about it a lot more, and it's a
Yeah.
in there. We got a couple of questions here. Maybe Fun says, "What about smallmouth within Georgia? Have 4 of the 5 for the slam so far. If you're trying to get a smallmouth in Georgia and you need one more, or if you need one more, go for something else. Smallmouth are they're kind of hard, especially right now. Right now is going to be a hard time to get one. There's a few streams that have them. There's some lakes that have them, but you're better off picking a different bass to get your 5th one.
They are extremely tough. I'll give them that. As far as I know, there's only 2 creeks and 1 river in Georgia that even has them, and the creeks are very tiny.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when the creeks are low, you're just dragging your kayak and you're pulling it. And I don't really want to burn any spots, but I will tell you that just go on the map,
Yeah.
and then find you any creek in Georgia that flows into the Tennessee River. So if you find a creek in Georgia that flows into the Tennessee River, it's going to have smallmouth in it, and there's only 2 pretty much. So
Yeah, and they're not even like loaded. They're not like the smallmouth creeks that we have like North Tennessee, Northeast Tennessee that are all smallmouth. That's what some people don't understand. Like I got friends that live an hour and a half away, and they don't ever catch a spot. They never catch a spotted bass, and I'm like down here catching them all the time. And in my section of, I think you know where I live. I'm in Cleveland, East Tennessee near Chattanooga. Like my section, it's like you'd think it'd be all smallmouth because all the streams flow into the Tennessee River, but like a lot of them don't have smallmouth in them. It's weird. But
right.
like a little bit north, they I don't know. So I don't know if it's just like a little elevation change or just a little difference, but it's kind of funny how that works.
Yeah, it is strange.
Because like everybody thinks I have like all my streams are smallmouth streams, and like most of the ones locally, I mean, I have to go. I mean, not far, but I have to go at least 45 minutes probably to go like to kind of know I'm going to catch a smallmouth. Like you might come across one, but
it's pretty similar like that here in Georgia. Like you have the Chattahoochee bass, and then you have the shoal bass, and both of them are native to the Chattahoochee River. But you'll fish one creek that flows into the Chattahoochee, and the only thing you're going to catch is Chattahoochee bass. And then you go up 10 miles, and the only fish you're going to catch in that creek that also flows into the Chattahoochee is shoal bass.
huh,
So it's like they don't like being in the same spots
that's
normally.
funny. I did catch both of them kayaking on that river. Was it last year? I don't think it was this year. I think it was last year. But that was my first time catching the Chattahoochee one. I've only caught a couple of those. I haven't caught many. Let's see here. I do have some questions. Do what?
I said those are pretty tough, the Chattahoochee bass. I get more DMs about, hey, do you have any spots for me to go catch Chattahoochee bass than any other one?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I wonder why. Are they like a more known name, or is it just? That's interesting.
They're just harder. They're extremely hard. They're more prevalent above Lanier and the northern part of the state and the Chattahoochee River, but virtually the whole rest of the Chattahoochee River, you're not going to catch them. They're only going to be, like I said, in the streams that flow into the Chattahoochee River, and you will not catch one in the Chattahoochee River below Atlanta.
That's kind. Oh yeah, that's kind of how. Like I was talking about the red-eye Coosa bass. Like they're not in the river, lower the rivers, but like in the Conasauga. But all the little creeks, you catch them out of the creeks that flow into it. But they kind of stay out of that big water. That's funny. Shanna says, great information. Being curious, what kayaks you both recommend being the best? That's a tough question. Being the best. Best for what and best for how much? And best for what are you doing? There's a lot of video. I've done a couple of videos, and I know you've done videos on your kayaks, and it depends on what you want to do. What do you want to do with your kayak? Depends on which one's the best for you.
Yeah, some of them are slower, but they're a lot more sturdy. You
Yeah.
know, they're going to be very good balance on them. Some of them are built for a little bit more speed, going down a river, going down rapids. May not be the best pond kayak. There's some that are just kind of in the middle. My Bonafide is kind of in the middle. It works great going down the river, but it's also really good on the pond. But it's a 12-foot, and a 12-foot kayak, John will tell you, it'll track a lot better
Yeah.
than a 10-foot. I have a 10-foot Bonafide, and it's just like it'll just
Yeah.
squirrely all over the place. So
See,
if you
yeah.
want something to go straight, get you a 12-foot. Sure.
And it's like, do you want pedal drive? Do you not? Do you? What do you? What? Yeah. Where are you wanting to fish it? What kind of water are you taking out on the lake? What's your size? That's a big thing. How big are you? I had a little 10-foot that I loved. If I was about a foot shorter, it'd been awesome. It was a little native, 10-foot native, and that thing only weighed like 60 pounds, and it was a pedal drive. It was an awesome little kayak, but I just couldn't stand
Wow.
up comfortably. Like I'd get out in it, but I took it down a few rivers because it's so light, it's easy getting in and out. I like that part. And that's the thing. Sometimes you might want a kayak that's lighter for accessibility. And then
Right.
if you like almost all my friends that do bass tournaments, they all have Hobies. I want a Hobie, but I don't do enough lake fishing where I feel like I need one.
You see everybody with the Hobies have trailers though.
Yeah, you got, and you want to have a trailer, or if you pick it up and put it back in your truck, that's some work. But I mean, Hobies will still. We go down some small waters with the Hobie, but we're not. You're not pulling them out of steep banks. So, like, what are you doing here? That's why so here's a little sneak peek for some people. I'm supposed to be getting a new kayak so I got a deal worked out. I think if everything goes through, I'm going to get to go pick out a kayak. So that's all I can say right now until I make sure it goes through. And I think you'll be really interested. So it's really going to fit my channel. So if you like what I do, kind of the stuff I do, I think it'll be our big help next summer. So we'll see if that happens or not. I'm really excited about it, but I got to wait for it to go through and everything.
Yeah.
All right, here's a good one. I wanted to ask you this anyways. What's your top 2 baits for river fishing?
It's definitely going to be a jerkbait, number one. Absolute favorite. I have a jerkbait tied on all year round in every single river I fish. Jerkbait's tied on. Just your regular 4.5 inch, not the tiny one, the 4.5 inch big jerkbait. That's number one. Number 2 is basically a tie between either a Berkeley Chopo, a Whopper Plopper, or a buzzbait. It's normally a buzzbait just because you're not going to get hung up as much. You can throw it over a branch, a stick. You can pull them over sticks and it's not going to get hung. A little Whopper Plopper every time. So normally I always have a topwater buzzbait and then the jerkbait for the faster fishing. So those are my top 2.
I see you use a jerkbait a ton, and I might try it tomorrow. I don't have any confidence in it because I guess I never used it. It's like it's one of those things, like I want to use it, but I'm just too like scared to try something. Sometimes I don't know. I'll just go with what I know works for me.
Yeah.
But I might have to start trying to jerkbait more. And as winter's coming on, I know it works good for the colder fish and stuff. And then I try to do topwater also, but I'm more like gonna just throw on a spinnerbait or something like that. So I'm like,
Right.
but yeah, I want to try buzz baits more. And I like a Chopo though. I got a Chopo 75, I think.
My
And,
favorite one,
I've gotten really comfortable with that, and I think it works.
I guess I don't have one on my wall. My favorite one is the Strike King makes like a miniature buzzbait. I'm sure you've seen them at Walmart. It's just like a half size down. And that's actually the one I'm actually telling you I throw the most is that little half size buzzbait. I love it.
Yeah, well, I'm probably going to have this tied on tomorrow, but I love a Hellgrammite, and especially in clear water. Dude, the fish just come out and eat this thing. And it's like I like do nothing baits. Like I know you like to stand up and like move. I like to throw out lures that do nothing. I want them to just drift in the current and sink slowly and let that fish come get it. I don't know. I think everybody's got their own. That's what's so funny about fishing. Like we could use totally different lures all day and catch the same amount of fish. Yeah. Or one person catches all of them, the other person catches nothing. You just don't know. You don't know each time. Which Shannon asked another question. Which fishing kayak would you recommend? I think said to be easy and portable for a woman. Depends
It's
on
not going to
you.
be, yeah, it's not going to be a pedal drive for sure.
Yeah, if you're trying to look for easy portable, I mean, you just have to go to a store, look up a store that sells kayaks, and they most time they'll have a bunch. I may be having a deal going on with Frontier Outdoors in Kingston, Tennessee. That's one. If you're in that area, they have a big showroom.
Yeah.
But look up a kayak place with showroom floor, or just do like a lot of people. You gotta just Google it and how much
I'd
weight
say,
do you want?
yeah, I'd say like John said, just stay away from a pedal drive. I'd probably step down from a 12-foot and go to a 10-foot.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little bit lighter on weight, probably like 20 or 30 pounds lighter. But hey, on a kayak, 20 pounds is a lot, especially
Oh yeah,
carrying it
for sure. And you probably can tell a big difference in just your two kayaks.
night and day.
I got the Old Town 120 and then the Old Town 106, and the 106 it says it's only 10 pounds lighter, but it feels so much lighter. I'm like, wow, this thing feels different.
There's a couple of places I would love to take my 12-foot kayak, but because of like how steep the bank is and where I have to drag it, I take my 10-foot just because it's about 35 pounds lighter, and I don't want to wrestle.
Yeah,
35 pounds on an incline that's
dude.
70 degrees, you having to pull up. After about 10 minutes, you're wore out. So I usually take my light one.
If I hope to do it. I hope as my channel grows and I do more kayaking, I want to have like 10 kayaks, like for real. Like I want because I love doing it. Also, I like letting people use them. But I
Right.
want to have one for like people get 10 rods for 10 different lures. I want to have 10 kayaks for 10 different situations. Like the
Yeah.
kayak that fits that. It just makes it for me. I don't know. That's just a thought. I'll probably never have it, and if I do, I'll probably look like a greedy miser. Like, oh, look at all those kayaks he has. But if it's something I can do, I will do it. I like having different. I got 3 vehicles right now. Actually, 4. One of them broke down. I got 4 vehicles. I don't know why. I like different stuff like that. So there's a lot of light kayaks out there, and Hobie actually makes some inflatable ones. Or no, wait, they're not inflatable. Maybe they are. They got that one it's like 40 pounds, and they say it's almost like a stand-up paddleboard kayak. And then there's also stand-up paddleboards. Those things are pretty light. Let's see here. Tony says I was pretty comfortable in my feel-free lure 11.5, but I bought a Jackson Nar, and it's wonderful. Yeah. I've seen the new Jackson Nar. A buddy of mine has one, and I really want to test it out. It looks really cool. I like how they do the drive system inside of it, where it pops. I think they got it where it like pops up if you hit something, but it doesn't like it stays inside of a compartment, and then you like lower it back down. So I think it's a pretty cool design. But those are big and stable. It's a big kayak.
Yeah.
Let's see here. What somebody asked about a Bartram's bass. Let me ask that one. We also thinking Bartram's bass. Oh, they're thinking about going for Bartram's bass.
Yeah, Bartram's is so easy.
Oh yeah, that is the one that's what is it on the
Savannah?
Yeah, Savannah. That's I was trying to think South Carolina. It's on the South Carolina. There's several because there's several streams. Well, you probably have to go to bigger waters. I don't even know. Would they still be biting as it's getting cold like now?
Yeah.
Does still bite in there? Because I know some of those streams they're in, they're really shallow and they probably will shut down. But yeah, the bigger river, like the Savannah, yeah, there's a bunch in there. That's where me and the Georgia Bassmaster we kayaked together. If you saw the video, I know everybody can't watch every video, but we did. We had fun down there. That was a fun day. That was cool water. It was different down there too. It was a little. I don't know. It was just kind of different. Like where the fish were, a lot of times wasn't where I expected them to be. That was one time river fishing just didn't go where I thought it would be. They were like more in the middle. And then the deep holes and the rocks are like in the middle of the river. That's like different and stuff. So
yeah,
it was kind of fun. Here we go. I had a question. I'll ask it. I got one more question. I'm gonna ask you in just a second here. Let me see if there's any other questions real quick. Oh yeah, is Lake Blue Ridge, Georgia? Yes, it's a TVA dam. Wait, Yeah. It's a TVA dam because it's on my app. So the Blue Ridge, the Toccoa River coming out of Blue Ridge Lake is a TVA dam because that comes down into Tennessee, changes the Toccoa River, runs into the Huassee, then runs into Tennessee River. Any other questions, real quick, Marshall? What is that? Spro MC stick?
Oh,
1,000%.
he's just saying that he knows I like that Spro McStick jerkbait.
Yeah. This guy says, "I love a spinner in the river." A spinner bait is a moving bait that I have a lot of confidence in the river.
Yeah,
it's something I like to have. It's kind of like a buzz bait, just underwater, and I feel like the Hobie iTrek 9 and 11 are inflatables. I need to look into those. Hobie makes great stuff. So like Hobie is going to be like your top end for kayaking. If you're a kayaking guy, if you're looking for kayak, they're making probably the best stuff out there as far as like innovation and just how easy and just well built. But you're going to pay for it, and that's with anything. Okay, all right, here we go. Last question, and then we can talk about anything you want to bring up. I should have gave it earlier. I meant to send you this earlier, but I got sidetracked. Sorry, I can't. I'm having trouble keeping track of everything. If you're going out fishing and you're planning a fishing trip and you don't have to worry about money or time, what is like your ultimate fishing trip you're going on? You feel free. You're doing whatever you want to do.
I want to go catch some golden dorados.
Oh,
yeah. Like what is that? South America, right? Is that where where they're at?
I think Amazon area. So.
Yeah, I want to go catch some golden dorados. That's my dream fish, and they get massive. So if I didn't have to worry about money, I'd book it up.
Yeah, I'll those kind of places like I would love to be able to have the time to just like plan a trip. I'll be back in a month, but are those like what do they bite? I've seen them in the River Monsters video, and that's about no wait, was it Meat Eater? I can't remember who caught them.
I follow a guy on Instagram, and they catch a lot of them on like little flies and stuff.
Oh, wow.
But I think he's just doing that. I think they'll bite some bigger stuff, but he's just mainly fly fishing for them. But I'm not really totally sure. But apparently they'll hit flies pretty good.
Do you fly fish any?
No, I'd be terrible at it.
Or is it something you ever thought about doing or trying?
I've never tried it. I've always been the type of person that's like I can take a spinning reel and just cast straight to the spot, and I don't have to do this for 10 minutes.
I know. I still don't get it. Like I have a ton of friends that they're like, if they can fly fish, they're fly fishing, and some people are like fly fish only, and I think it's just an extra challenge. It's like maybe they're just like, you know what, like me, I'm just like trying to catch anything. Like I just want to catch something. I don't want to be messing around. I'll fly fish every once in a while, but I can't. There's so many places I go. I'm like, I am not going to be frustrated all day. Because I can like do a little spin cast or a backhand up under a tree the first try and hit the spot where I want to hit rather than trying to,
exactly
do the fly. But it's a whole nother thing that people get into. Like I always wonder in like 10 or 15 years, I'll look back and be like the guy that only fly fishes. And you're like, I've caught everything there is to catch. Now I need more challenge. And I'm just out here, you people don't know, but I don't know. I definitely don't want to do that, but yeah, the golden dorado that like I remember seeing them in videos. I've only seen them a few times, but it's crazy how they're that color in that muddy water. Like I've only seen them in like muddy, murky water.
Right.
I don't know if they're in other waters, and it's usually like faster. Is it faster flowing rivers too? I think a lot.
I'm not really sure.
Right, that's wild.
What about you? What's your ultimate lifetime dream fish?
Oh, my dream fish? I don't know. I don't really have a fish that I want to go for. My ultimate fishing trip is starting on the coast and driving all the way to the other coast.
Yeah.
And stopping at every creek I come across. So this would be like a 5-year fishing trip. But I get so much fun, and like excitement out of stopping at a place I'd never been before, even if it's like 5 miles away, like a little stream I've never been before, and just try to catch what's in there. Just observe the stream, if I can wade it or walk it, and just see what I come across, see what fish, and then I go somewhere else, because every place has different fish. Like even like Middle Tennessee and East Tennessee, like the creeks in Middle Tennessee are a lot different than the creeks over in East Tennessee, like species wise, and not like drastic, but there's a lot of different fish, and I like catching a lot of different species. I want to go. I don't want to catch just like I love
Right.
smallmouth fishing. Like if I can catch smallmouth, but I'd love to just go catch whatever's in that stream. Like, all right, this one and this one and this one and this one. And there's a creek in Chattanooga that is the most diverse creek I've probably ever fished. I caught 9 species one day. I went there. I went back and caught like 8, and every time I saw more. There's like I'd see like 12 or 13 species that could be caught on like usually little like crappie lures and stuff. And
I
I
have a
think stuff like that's fascinating.
I have a question to ask you because you've probably caught them, and I've seen them in the Santa 3 times. I've been there, and they wouldn't bite. And recently in Pigeon Forge, I saw them eyeballing my jerkbait, but they wouldn't commit, and it was a big drum.
Oh yeah,
Have you ever caught one of those? And if
yeah.
so, where do they bite?
Whatever, but whenever they want to.
Yeah, because like
I
they
never have
always
caught.
follow it and they net it for me.
I never have caught one in clear water when I saw it. I only have caught them just randomly. So I don't know, but there's guys that catch giants on crankbaits all the time, and I'm sure you've seen videos where they're catching them. And I think it also depends on what body of water. Like, yeah, there's it's crazy that they were up in the where you were fishing there. Usually they're not way up in rivers like that.
Yeah.
For the most part. Most of the time they're deeper, like bigger water. But they're weird. They fight like mad and they just dig. People catch them a lot around our lakes. I'm surprised you haven't caught one. That's funny. I wonder because like I never caught a catfish on a bass lure until like 2 or 3 years ago. And people would
Yeah.
tell me, dude, I catch them like every time I go bass fishing. And I'm like, I've
Uh,
never caught one on a bass lure. But
yeah,
I
all
think
the
it's the
time.
bodies of water, the way they eat differently.
I have a lake in my local county where it's like I don't know what it is, but we've caught so many catfish on spinnerbait in this lake, and it'll make you mad because you're like, I got a 10-pounder on, and then you see that big blue tail coming up flopping all the time, man.
I did have one day, speaking of drum, where I fished a tournament on Watts Bar. It was in February. It was like 35 degrees. It was a horrible day. I didn't catch a bass. I fished 8 hours, didn't catch a fish. I was this is when you'll want to quit tournament fishing. It's like I know you did bass tournaments, so there's some days that are just miserable, and like I couldn't figure anything out. I'm working back to the ramp. It's like the time's expired. I make a cast with like a tiny. I'm like, I'm gonna throw this tiny little lure, and I'm just like, maybe a bluegill will bite it. I hook into this big fish. I'm like, what is this? I go on to catch, I think 6 or 7 drum that were from 5 to 8 pounds, and like 5 catfish.
Wow.
They were like 3 or 4 pounds. In like 30 minutes, where I fished all day, couldn't get a fish. I mean, they weren't bass, but I was just happy to catch something. And they were hitting this tiny little lure. But like somebody said something about drum love crawdads. Yeah. And that I have seen them hit like crawdad crank lures and crankbaits and little crawl stuff. But I take it back. I have caught one time intentionally. I saw it and I cast a jig. I cast a couple other lures. They didn't look at it. I cast a jig in front of it, and I think it is more. They may have that more crawdad in their mind. And their mouths are small too, so they don't have a big mouth.
Right.
So next time you see them, try a jig. Like
Okay.
maybe just drop it in front of their face. I think they will. They might suck it up. But when they thump it, they'll like thump that lure like when a bass hits a jig. It's like boom. That's crazy. But all right, Marshall, I really appreciate you coming on here. We'll close this down. Got anything last thing to say? Anything you want? Any sponsors or anything you want to talk about? Anything on your channel coming up that you want people to know about?
I have a Florida trip coming up here in a couple weeks, so maybe I can get me. I'm trying to get a peacock. I've never caught one, a snakehead, and a clown knife fish all on
Oh
one
yeah,
trip. So we'll see
dude.
if I can knock that out. I'm only going to be down there for 2 days, but I have a local guy that's supposed to
Yeah,
help me out. So maybe I'll
that's
get
the
lucky.
best. It's crazy. Like if you find a local dude, they're like, "Hey, take me to a couple spots." You could spend forever. The thing with Florida though, you can just show up at a random ditch and catch all three of those.
Look, I mean, beforehand, I went ahead and like was searching all these canals and like they're all in there, but
Oh yeah.
there's alligators too, so I'm a little worried.
Are you taking your kayak?
No, I'm gonna be bank fishing or fishing out of this guy's boat.
Okay.
So if I'm bank fishing, hopefully I don't get ate.
Hope we don't read about you in the newspaper.
But those are the only like big trips really I have coming up. It's getting cold, so I don't know about you, but really during like December through February, I love fishing lakes more because largemouth are just so fat. And
Yeah,
so, I mean, I love lake and pond fishing that time of year. And then I normally keep my river fishing, like the other 9 or 10 months.
I know that. Like I was telling the guys, the one I'm going on tomorrow. I'm like, this may be one of my last kind of like a shallower river floats. Like I'll float some bigger rivers, and they you can still catch some fish, but there's more lake. It's almost lake fishing. And then,
Right.
but yeah, for me to catch bass, like I do enjoy it as it gets colder and trying to target bass for some reason. But because in the summer I like catching everything. Like I'm usually and I'm like you said, I'm usually fishing smaller streams and stuff like that. Where around here they shut down. Like if it's average is like a foot depth and you maybe a couple deep holes, you're not catching anything out of the streams and stuff. So they really changed. So I was wondering what you'd fish for. Do you fish for you do some crappie fishing, don't you? You do crappie
I,
fishing or
I like to crappie fish whenever they're spawn and they're just absolutely easy and you can catch 100 of them at a time. I'm really not too familiar with them to
yeah.
catch them all year. Like I'll get lucky and catch you'll be using a bass lure every now and then, catch a 2 pound crappie out of nowhere, but I don't ever really, I don't really know how to target them, especially like bigger lakes. Like when they're suspended and they're 30 foot deep and people are catching them on spoons and stuff. I
Yeah.
don't really know how to do that for crappie. So
I
mainly,
like I'll target them or I'll go for them like now, like this time of the year on because
right.
there's like a few bridges that I'm like, okay, they might be here. They might be here. If not, I'll hop to another bridge or another bridge. And it's just little funnels where they funnel into these deep spots. And other than that, I have no idea how to catch. Somebody asked me the other day, where on it's like a lake close to me. Where can I go catch crappie? I was like, I have no idea. I'm like, that
Yeah.
lake's 10 minutes away, but I have no idea how to even find one.
Do y'all
Find
have a
one
lot of
there.
white crappie up in your area? Because it's mainly only black crappie where I'm at.
Yeah. I mean, I'll catch one every once in a while, but mostly just black crappie. When I went to Missouri, I remember catching some white crappie, and I was like, "Wow, this is different. Like, what's something's different about these fish? They look a little
Yeah.
bit." And I didn't realize it at the time, but I was like, "Oh." But yeah, mainly small little black crappie. If I catch one over 10 inches, I'm like, "Oh, that's a giant."
Yeah.
I'm not, Richard Gene over here catching 2.5 pounders every time.
Richard Gene is the fishing machine. I'd love to go crappie fishing with that guy.
Yeah, yeah. Just take me to where those big ones are.
Him
That,
and his alternate personality. I'll fish with them both.
you take both of them. Yeah, that'd be a hoot. But, all right, man. I appreciate you being on here. Appreciate everybody commenting.
Yeah.
Go check out the Georgia Bassmaster. See what he's doing fun
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, he definitely likes his streams and rivers and creeks. That's why I had him on. I'm trying to get people on here that mostly do this type of fishing like I do,
Yeah.
and it's a fun, exciting type of fishing, and I love to see it from other people's perspective.
Yeah.
And
Hopefully, I can get up there with you sometime, and anytime you want, I can take you to my little shoal bass spot. So just let me know.
real quick, do people fish all year for shoal bass, or like maybe down south further? I'm not sure. Do they slow down?
I've fished for them as far as through late November and just done great. And
Okay.
just, I don't know when they shut off, but it seems like they do great all year long. So,
Yeah, I know spring. Everybody talks about like spring is like
well,
supposed to be really
especially
good fish.
spring, like those shoal bass will take a trip almost like salmon and just swim up river to the shoals.
Heard
and then
that.
they'll really just hunker down, and you'll catch 100 of them in this one spot. So
Just gotta find the right spot.
yeah,
That's crazy. Well, all right, man. Yeah, I definitely want to get you up here. I'd love to get you on some of the rivers and floats, and we'll do some more. I know it's kind of slowing down, but hopefully, at least this spring, at the latest, we'll start putting some stuff together. It'll be fun.
sounds good.
All right, thanks, man.
All right, take it easy.